Check it out. This game is called Nidhogg, and it's available for $15 on the Steam store. It's all about two people sword fighting, and it's sort of a tug of war. The further you go, you defeat enemies or run past them while you're the last one who succeeded in getting a kill until you can defeat them to get out here, and then you win. When you win, you get eaten by the giant dragon, which I think is called the Nidhogg. I think it's some kind of mythology thing. Hold on, I've got the tab open that explains it. The Nidhogg is the mythological serpent from Norse mythology, a dragon who gnaws at a root of the world tree, which is kind of weird how it gets used in this game. That's just the weirdest thing about this game, is what happens when you win. You get eaten by a dragon. It's like, what's up with that? But this has got to be one of the most fun competitive games that's out there right now. And yeah, as you'll probably be able to tell from watching my gameplay footage, the AI opponent isn't really all that good. I kind of wish the AI had a bit of an update to be a little more difficult, because he's a little bit easy once you know how once you have his moves kind of memorized or whatever. Well, it's not memorized because there's no set. It's not really a set pattern. It's just that the AI prefers certain moves over others that it could take, which a human would do. Because humans are unpredictable, but the AI for this game, it's pretty predictable for the most part. It doesn't always do the best thing that it could do, and I kind of think it would be interesting to have one that does the best thing that it could do a lot more often. So the AI is kind of more like a training mode for the multiplayer in this game, and the multiplayer is really fun. Everybody's laughing. If somebody starts losing, they don't get mad because it's pretty funny. And I mean, this is just the perfect little local co-op game. And you can break through a window. That's always fun. And there isn't much else to say about it. I mean, it's a pretty simple game. It's $15 on the Steam store, which is, I guess, kind of expensive considering the amount of graphics and stuff that's actually in it. I'd really like to see this sort of upgraded to be in, HD or whatever. I mean, not that the pixel graphics are bad. I love the pixel graphics. But it would be cool to see these mechanics in a 3D, or 2.5D game, with HD graphics. And maybe some more different fighters you can choose. I mean, not that they'd be mechanically different, just, more different looking fighters. But I mean, yeah, people who are like super concerned about violence in video games, though, I'm like, yeah, does this game make me have dreams about cutting people up with swords? No, not at all. Does this game make me have dreams about cutting up single colored, vaguely stick figure shaped blobs with swords? Yeah, actually, it kind of does. I mean, these guys are like little teeny stick figures, and it's like pew pew pew. It's pretty funny. And just everybody's always laughing whenever I show them this game, which is just, I think that's a mark of a good game right there. If you can get people to laugh from looking at it, you're doing something right. So yeah, this is definitely something that is worth your time if you love video games. This sword fighting mechanic is really good. You've actually got 3 positions you can hold your sword in, up, middle, and down. And then you can also throw your sword, and then you can also fight without a sword, which this guy's going to try to do. Oh, yikes, that didn't work. He threw his sword to get me. Oh, got him anyway. So, yeah, I mean, but Nidhogg doesn't really... I think it was the work of one guy. So, kudos to the indie developer who made this. I wonder what other weird stuff that guy will be working on next. Well, anyways, that's about all I have to say about Nidhogg. It's pretty straightforward. So, I thought I might talk about some things about the channel. First of all, who is Silence Dogood? Well, Silence Dogood, that's my channel name. Silence Dogood was a pseudonym used by Benjamin Franklin when he was only 16 years old. His brother James Franklin, who ran the New England Courant, the newspaper, wouldn't let him write under his own name because Franklin would reflect on the family name of Franklin if whatever Benjamin said. But Benjamin really wanted to get his ideas published, so he had to pretend to be a woman, an old widow of a minister named Silence Dogood. And she writes some interesting and funny things. You can kind of see why her letters were popular. They were certainly popular enough to get Benjamin taken seriously as a writer when it came out, that he was the one behind it. Most of the people had assumed it was someone much older who was writing it, and probably not an actual woman. But the reason I kind of choose that is because we have there's this idea from the far left called the progressive stack, which is basically that people should be allowed to talk only in the order of how privileged and or oppressed they are. So, if you're like a black woman, then you, because you're black and because you're a woman, you get to talk before a white man or whatever, or your arguments deserve more consideration than those of a white man or whatever. And that is, first of all, just straight irrational. I mean, that is the ad hominem fallacy right there. Irrelevant facts about the person discrediting their argument. But second of all, it will create this situation if that becomes more accepted in society. It will rapidly create the situation in which anyone whose ideas have merit will have to anyone whose ideas have merit will have to pretend to be something higher on the progressive stack in order to get their ideas heard. A man having to pretend to be a woman in order to get his ideas published. That's Silence Dogood right there. And so, yeah, and I think that's part of what Gamergate is about, or at least that is something I think that ought to be part of what Gamergate is about. The first thing Gamergate is about ethics and gaming journalism, because we had this whole series of scandals in the gaming press where we had a developer sleeping with a journalist, and then the journalist gave a good review of the developer's game. And I mean, that's not a problem. Oh, check it out. Now, that is a really rare thing. I can't always get that to happen when I play Nidhogg, and I'm not sure what exactly causes it, but some of the time you can get that dragon to do that sort of loop thing. I wish I could figure out how to do that every time. Like I guess in high level Nidhogg play, it would be like a mark of the pro that when you win you can get the serpent to do the loop thing like that. I think it might be a bug, but it's pretty awesome. I mean, if it is a bug, they should leave it in. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's possible on all the different maps either. It might only be possible on that map. But every now and then that'll happen, and it's pretty cool. So if anybody knows how to get that to happen every time, I would love to learn that trick. I just did it by accident there. I think it involves some kind of jumping at a certain point. Oh, and by the way, this video drops some frames, and it slows down at some points. So it's not perfect, but it is like half an hour of Fraps video, which took like 9 gigs to store it. So I'm gonna run out of hard disk space if I record much more of this game. Anyway, about Gamergate. Gamergate's about ethics in gaming journalism, because we had a developer sleeping with journalists in order to get good reviews. We had these left-wing political activists, feminists, who are telling people in the gaming press and studios, how to make their games based on radical feminist ideology, which really has nothing to do with making good games. But we wouldn't even mind that so much. Here it is slowing down. It doesn't do that in the actual game. I think that's because I was running Fraps. But it shows the game's not perfectly optimized. But because it's a sprite game, it doesn't much matter that it's not perfectly optimized. I mean, nobody's computer is not going to be able to run this. I'd be kind of interested to know, what the technology stack behind Nidhogg is. I didn't even check. Oh yeah, and this is a trick. You can avoid sword fighting on this part of the map by jumping over those things. Anyways, ethics in gaming journalism. Well, yeah, you shouldn't be able to get good reviews by sleeping with developers, and you shouldn't be sneaking your ideology into games and into the gaming press. But even all that wouldn't have been so bad if they hadn't dug themselves into a deeper hole by all running a series of articles all on the same day. Like most of the gaming press ran a series of articles all on the same day saying the gamer identity is dead, which was stupid beyond all reason, and basically completely insulted their audience as being, misogynistic and racist and all those other feminist buzzwords that don't really even mean what they used to mean. And, like in the 50s, if you said somebody was a racist, you might have had a point because racism was a thing. But nowadays, there's nobody who doesn't want women in games. There's nobody who cares what race you are. And that's what makes feminists scared. Because a world in which people don't mind women in games or in whatever industry we're talking about, and people don't care what skin color you are, is a world in which feminism is unnecessary. And that's the world we live in. Feminism is unnecessary. It is redundant. Nobody wants to push women out of games. Nobody. I mean, us white boys certainly don't want to do that. I mean, it isn't even in our self-interest. I mean, everyone knows that gamer girls are hot, and they're the demographic most likely to hook up with us nerdy white boys, so why the hell would we want them out of gaming? That makes no sense. I mean, there's just no level on which that even makes sense as a narrative. One thing we do want out of games is radical feminist ideologues who really don't like games and have no business telling the gaming press what to write and bugging developers about, why aren't you hiring more women? When they're hiring people who apply and not that many women apply. I mean, it's just a fact that there aren't really all that many women who really want to get into STEM fields. And that's not because women are inferior or incapable of doing STEM fields or anything like that. It's just, it's not something very many women want to do. And That's nothing to do with sexism in the gaming industry or STEM fields or anything. It's just not sexism. It's just not what women want to do. And in a free society, women can do what they want to do. And if it's not STEM fields, then we'll have men doing most of the STEM fields. I mean, that's just how it works out. And I mean, it's just all kinds of nonsense, all this check your privilege nonsense. It's just offensive against reason itself. And yet that's who we have telling the gaming press what to write and trying to manipulate things. And it's creepy. The more you investigate it, the more corruption you discover. It just gets deeper and deeper. And then instead of saying, oh, we're sorry, we shouldn't have said, we shouldn't have run those articles, we shouldn't have developers sleeping with journalists whose games they're going to review, we shouldn't be doing any of that, the gaming press doubled down on it. They just started defending the corruption, saying that objectivity is a silly thing to strive for. I mean, this is journalism 101 stuff. And I just figure if the games journalists, the current gaming press is that bad, I've got to have a chance. Because whatever I have to say has got to be more valid than what they're saying. Because what they're saying is stupid beyond all reason. So that kind of has motivated me to get into reviewing games and talking about games. And I'm always going to review based on merit. And here we have Nidhogg. This is a game with some real merit. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure a lot of you, anybody who's watched it to this point, they probably haven't watched it because they're really interested in what I have to say. I'm betting they're interested in this gameplay footage because this is a really fun game. And you might want to wait till it's on sale just because $15 is a little expensive for this game. But you definitely want to get Nidhogg at some point because this game is really fun. Well, let's see. What else? I talked a little bit about Gamergate. Oh, harassment and doxing, right? Nobody in Gamergate supports harassment and doxing. That is a narrative that the gaming press has constructed and which radical feminists have gone to the mainstream press with in order to distract from the scandals and ethics violations and all the issues that Gamergate is trying to bring up. It is all a distraction tactic. Nobody supports that stuff. In fact, nobody cares what Zoe Quinn is doing or wants to do because she hasn't even done anything wrong. I mean, she's done some things wrong, like from the perspective of Christian morality, seeing as how, she's sleeping around. But as far as ethics in gaming journalism goes, Zoe Quinn isn't a journalist. So, if she's not a journalist, she can't be engaged in violations of ethics in gaming journalism. So, it's just Zoe Quinn, it doesn't matter. It's the developer. I mean, it's the journalist she was sleeping with. That's what matters because he reviewed her game after sleeping with her and didn't disclose this fact. I mean, I took journalism in high school. We had a whole chapter on that. Just on that. Just on disclosing your personal connections. So, yeah. You have to review based on merit. Well, anyway, here we go. There's Nidhogg. Please subscribe and stuff.